Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Once again, been doing a lot of these Canadian Music Week. Tonight's kind of the sort of unofficial culmination of Canadian Music Week, which is the Indie Awards, and the big headliners for tonight's Indie Awards show are, these guys and their bandmates, Billy Talent, Ian, Aaron. How you guys doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. And so, you know what? I'm going to start off a bit here by sort of, well, in a way, a little bit of looking back here, but you guys have been around, it's 20 plus years with Pez and Billy Talent together. What I'm wondering is, because I don't get to speak to that many bands, especially Canadian bands that have kind of had the longevity that Billy Talent now has had at this point. And certainly you guys, over the course of 20 plus years, would change a lot as people, but artistically within the band, how have those dynamics changed from kind of looking back to the early days, even going back to Pez?
I think more back, we're way different than the Pez years, because those are the years that we were in high school and still kind of finding each other and finding our identity as musicians and our sound as a band. So I don't really count those first couple years until we changed the name to Billy Talent. Then I look at that as our sound, and since then we've definitely grown as well. But that sound has still remained consistent, I think, over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, we used to back in the early days. It was just playing your heroes. It was the bands that you love. We did a lot of Rage Against the Machine, and we did some Tragically Hip covers too. Like, we were just playing songs that we liked and trying to find our own sound. And now, like Ian said, when Billy Talent came along is right when we kind of made that stamp. Like, this is what we sound like. Let's do this. So.
Within that, though, like, has the way you guys actually operate as songwriters and recording musicians, has that changed? Was it, say, more democratic in the early years, or has become more democratic as time goes on? Has the division of labor when it comes to songwriting, has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I think that changed from Pez to Billy Talent. In Pez, we just kind of jammed out our songs, and there was a lot of different ideas getting thrown around, and some of our songs were ska, and some of our songs were punk, and some were like even rap rock. And when you get a little older and you realize, like, to make it as a band, you really have to have a signature sound. And I think once we realized that, I took the reins as kind of like the main songwriter and worked on songs that are all just kind of in the same, like, they all sound like have its own identity. And that's that first EP we did with Justin Coop. Those songs are kind of like in the same kind of mold together, and our first album as well. And I'm really happy we did that, though, because it really gave us an identity and a stamp. I mean, even though we kind of had that before from our live performance, musically, we were all over the place. Yeah.
You guys have developed, a long time now. Have had a very, not only large, but a very engaged fan base. And you guys seem to have been very involved with your fans, whether it's through social media, just making yourselves accessible as artists, not being too standoffish and that kind of thing. Do you find that as the band's gone on, has the original audience grown with you, or has there been a generational switch over? Like, do you notice that within your fan base?
Yeah, we've been noticing a lot of parents will be coming with their kids. I think one of the best things we did in the early years was we never not gave someone an autograph. Like, if someone was outside waiting for us, we would go and meet them and talk to them and sign something and take a picture. So simple. And we always did that. And then first album, second album, third album, it starts to get harder and harder because there's more and more people waiting outside. But these people have been waiting for 30 minutes and it's cold and there's 50 of them, and we see it. A lot of musicians will just hop in the van and leave the premises as soon as they can, and we really took pride in, like, let's meet as many people as we can. They're our fans. Like, that's how, and I think that really went a long way. And now we see, like, when we're going out to meet fans, it's, it'll be a young girl and her friend, and then her parents will be there too, and they all enjoy the band and like coming to see us play. And it's really, really cool to see that they like our music as well, the parents, along with the kids.
To kind of bring things more into the present here, Ian, actually, when I saw you just a few weeks ago when you were in the studio at the Lazies, you'd mentioned at the time that you guys were working on a new album. It's been since 2012 since the last album of new original material, Dead Silence, in 2012, and obviously you had the Greatest Hits package, which included a couple new songs, including, I believe you guys just recently put out a video for Chasing the Sun.
Yeah, we just put that
And
out recently.
which was one of the previously unreleased songs that's on the Billy Talent Hits package. But yeah, as far as this album that you're working on, first of all, just what stage is it? Is there kind of an endpoint in sight yet for it?
Yeah, a little bit of one. I think the bulk of the music is done. It's mostly completed. Lyrics, Ben and I are going to start getting together and working on lyrics over the summer, and we're hoping to get in the studio in the fall. Yeah, we'd like to all keep it all in Toronto as well, and track drums here and bass. And we have a studio that we've been slowly building up over the years that we did vocals on our last record and parts of the guitar, but now with the amount of gear that we have, and we can pretty much do everything except for drums at our place. So it's really important for us to keep it here this time, I feel, because we all live here, and it'd be great to do a full record in Toronto.
Do you guys have you reached out to any producers for it yet? Do you have any idea who you'd be working with? Well, you'll be taking the reins yourself?
Yeah, I'll be taking the reins this time as well, because I did the last record, and that seemed to do very well for us, and co-produced the second one, and it was great to work with Howard Benson on those two singles last summer. It's just, for us, we'd rather keep it in Toronto, so.
Having your own studio, you don't have the same kind of financial and time constraints you would have if you're renting out a place. Is there kind of pros and cons? Like, I've spoken with bands where there does seem to be real pros and cons to having your own studio. Sometimes that extra time or that lack of constraint helps better formulate an idea, and other times it kind of just leads to like an unrelenting pace of just changing stuff
Right,
constantly.
yeah.
There's because you're not forced to finish it, you keep just changing and changing and changing. And from your guys' own experience and with the plan to do it all in your own studio this time around, like, what's your thoughts on that? Is there a con to it at all?
Yeah, I think you reach a point in your life after you have experiences like that, and we certainly have. I mean, if it was 10 years ago and we made this record, it would have taken like 6 to 8 months. But now it's like the last record we released. There was definitely like a organization. We had a chart and timeline and everything like that. And I think when you get a little older and you've been in a band for this long, you definitely understand the business behind it too, and you know that there needs to be a release date by this time, and the record label needs to set it up, and then touring needs to happen, and so you definitely have like a time frame in mind, and you try to complete those goals. But if we were the younger Billy Talent, no way.
It's true.
Yeah, when I met you with the Lazies a few weeks ago, I just asked you at that point about writing lyrics with them and how you had to get their perspective in it because they'd be the ones singing it, kind of thing. So when working with Ben this summer, what is that relationship like nowadays, specifically to lyrics? How does that work for you?
Well, when we were younger, we were in a van together all the time, so it's a little bit easier because you're constantly talking about stuff. But as you get older, your separate lives kind of change as well. So I try to spell out the main theme of the song lyrically before we get in and work on things, and then once something's kind of we're both on the same page of feeling, this fits the vibe of the song. Then we just go for it and start coming up with ideas together. So.
And obviously haven't started recording yet, but is there a sense yet for when it does eventually come out? Is there a vibe to it that's apparent yet as far as how it's going to compare to Dead Silence and Billy Talent 1 and 2 and such?
I don't know.
Badass is what it is. It's just badass.
Yeah, it's definitely more. I don't want to say upbeat, but energetic than. Well, I don't know. But I found.
Chasing the Sun, which is a relatively mellow song for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be opposite of Chasing the Sun, but that was a song that we felt the need to do, and was really just like came out of us naturally, and it was written about Aaron's brother, who passed away tragically last couple of years ago. So that was like I wouldn't say the rest of this record's going to be anything like that song, but it's definitely upbeat and more energetic than anything we've put out in a while.
Keep an eye out for that when it comes out. Billy Talent, one of the kind of premier mainstays of Canadian rock at this time. Chewy, I know it's not an anniversary or anything, but because, well, Ian, I met you just a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
but like, just congratulations on the longevity you guys have had, because in this day and age, it's massively impressive. And I appreciate you also taking the time today. And good luck with the show tonight. Thanks a lot, guys.
Musician, so.
Cheers, man.
Thanks,
Cheers.
yeah.
Michael?
Cheers.